First Alert 6 weather.
Good morning, everybody. Meteorologist Jarrett Lansford here, and we've got some precip on the way as we get toward the afternoon and the evening. Some spotty showers, could have a few flakes that mix in, particularly if you're in certain parts of the area. We're going to break down how that all plays out, how much you could end up seeing out of this, as well as a pretty turbulent forecast coming up. We've got some really nice days that are up ahead, and also some that are trending in the wrong way in a big fashion. We're going to take a look at where we could see some snow potential that is on the increase coming up here in this live stream. So a lot to cover. Let's go ahead and dig in to the details of the forecast, and we'll start with the headlines. Let's just dig right into it here, and you can see that we've got our showers that are on the way this afternoon and evening. Tomorrow we see some fog possible in the morning, but much warmer temperatures for Thursday and for Friday before we see Sunday be the day that is starting to head toward having some issues for us. And we're going to look at that potential for some snow, perhaps some sleet mixing in with that as we go through this live stream. Start with today. Pretty quiet right now. You're looking downtown. Cloud cover in place, 36 degrees where we're at. We're probably gaining only about another 5 degrees the whole rest of the day with that cloud cover in place. And that's for the metro. We top out right around 40 degrees. This will be one of those days where there's a wide spread in temperatures depending on where you're at in the viewing area. If you're closer to Denison, Harlan, you're kind of getting the short end of the stick. You're going to be a lot colder in this direction. Meanwhile, notice how quickly things warm up as you head south and west. We could be making a run at 60 degrees if you're in places like York and Beatrice. So pretty big margin there for what we end up seeing, partially because of some of the snow that's on the ground still, but partially it's also the cloud cover being a little thicker with some of that precip further to the north and east. And speaking of some of that precip, we are trying to bring a little bit of that in, showing up as some snow for places like Denison over toward Norfolk and Columbus. I've been checking out some of the cameras in this area. I hadn't really noticed too much getting it around just yet. As a reminder, when we're talking about radars, the way it works is it shoots the radar beam from where it's at, and it goes up at an angle. So the further away from the radar you get, the higher up in the cloud you're looking. So when you're looking at that radar, I'll pull that back up again. When you're looking at that radar that far away, that's quite a distance that we're talking about with this view. And so you're actually looking pretty high up in the clouds around Norfolk. There's a chance that's not quite getting to ground level just yet. So it's the higher chance that we see some precip if you're off to the north of the metro, particularly north and east as our day goes on. We'll have a better chance to get some of that snow to fall in these areas. But you can see we've got a couple of different waves of this precip that will try to push their way in. And eventually we'll see more of that get to ground level. I'll show you how this plays out. And you can see even on the model how much less is showing up for right now. A lot of this just isn't getting to ground level just yet. Now as we go through the day, you can see more cloud cover off to the north of I-80 and then into our west central and even southwest Iowa towns with more of the clouds in place. A little more sunshine south and west leads to more warming. There's a little bit more of the precip that tries to make its way in. Some showers, mainly as liquid precip in the area. The metro, we're looking at this mainly being rain. But to the north and to the east, a bit of a better chance to try to get a little more of this falling as snow. And that's where those colder temperatures come into play for Denison, Harlan. That's where you could see some more of that falling. Maybe just a little bit of accumulation, just a coating if you're in Denison. Elsewhere, not much of a concern, and most of the accumulation falls off to our east, closer to the Des Moines area. And you can see this is all departing by the time we get to midnight. So, start talking about accumulations. I mentioned maybe a dusting for Denison. That would be the high side of what we see. But a little bit more if you get closer to Des Moines, especially as you head up toward the Ames area, Carroll, Iowa, and towards Sioux City. That's where the stripe of snow accumulations looks like it ends up, outside of our area. So not terribly concerned about what we end up seeing today, just more of an inconvenience that we have some raindrops, a few flakes as we get into the afternoon and the evening. by tomorrow. We may start off with a few pockets of some fog that develop, so first alert to that. Otherwise, we should clear anything that does develop pretty quickly in the morning, and we'll send our temperatures up into the upper 50s. Well above average. It's going to feel pretty nice. A little bit of a breeze, maybe some gusts up around 25 miles per hour, but in general, pretty nice for our Thursday. Friday also looks pretty nice. In fact, even better. We're looking at upper 60s, about 69 degrees, sunshine. Again, could have some gusts up around 25 miles per hour, but overall, looking pretty good for Friday. Then you notice some of that turbulence comes back in. We dropped the temperatures quite a bit for Saturday, only in the low 40s for our high. It's still mostly sunny, so it's still a pretty solid day, but we will have an east to northeast breeze, and that will impact how nice it feels out there. And then Sunday's the day that is really starting to trend in a direction that looks unpleasant. Highs in the low 30s. We may not even get to the freezing mark for a high. And we're getting an increasing chance to bring at least a mix into the area, maybe snow. Let me show you some of what's showing up. And I'm actually going to start off with your worst case scenario, the way things look right now. So don't get too freaked out by what I'm about to show you. This is the worst case scenario. I just want you to have an idea of how this could play out. And we start off our Sunday. It starts to fill in on the radar. You're seeing some pinks, you're seeing some blues, indicating that mix to snow that is showing up on the model. We have that around for much of the day. Gets even some deep colors for that blue. And then starts to fade out as we get into our Sunday night. If you're maybe out of town, you can see Des Moines also in that same boat. Kansas City on this model showing up as kind of a mix of precip. And if you're maybe further toward the Grand Island area, you're also looking at that being snow on that model. Now, different models have different things that they're showing. Let me show you snow accumulations, and the first one we're going to look at is that same model that we just finished with. And notice the deep blue that's indicated over the heart of our area on this model. So that would indicate some pretty significant snow potential during the day on Sunday. And really, we can back this up a little bit here. There, you can see that that's all on Sunday that we would be talking about that potential. If this sort of thing were to come true, you would maybe be looking at I don't know, 3 to 6 inches, maybe a little more. That's one model's depiction of this. Let me show you a different model. And this is part of why we've held off so far on issuing a First Alert 6 weather day. This model is a lot less excited about the scenario and even just kind of started to hint at there maybe being some precip around during the day on Sunday. So this is looking a lot less, maybe a coating to an inch based off of this model. So we need to get a little more agreement on this. But what you need to take away from this at this point is that we are seeing an increasing trend to try to pull some precip into the area for our Sunday, even in the morning and lasting into the afternoon. And that there is potential that we bring a mixed bag of precip or even all snow into the area with this. So this is certainly something you want to keep close tabs on if you have plans for Sunday. First alert to that potential for some winter precip to impact the area. And this is also kind of the kickstart to a busier pattern. March is looking a little lion-like with the way it's entering into our area. You notice that Sunday, this is the first day of March. And once we get beyond that, several different systems that make their way through the area could bring another round of some rain and snow into the area Monday evening into the nighttime hours. And then you've got a couple more systems that are at least around our area for Tuesday, Wednesday. Maybe some rain showers for Thursday. There is a trend to try to pull the temperatures up as the week goes on. That would help us out and try to limit the impacts of any kind of snow that would try to make its way in. Notice the nighttime temperatures are below freezing, so there's a lot that has to be sorted out with this. But it does generally look like a busier pattern as far as precip goes next week. I will say the long-term trends support very strongly being warmer than average. Average this time of March that you're looking at, the 4th to the 10th, would be up toward about 43, 44 degrees, maybe a little bit warmer toward the back end of that. So we'd be talking probably 50s and 60s for this kind of outlook. So Doesn't mean winter's over. You just saw the 10-day and how there's several chances for precip there. And even in this stretch, that doesn't mean that that wouldn't happen. It just means that more of the stretch looks warmer than average than closer to the colder and wintry stretch. So that's the current outlook as we're heading forward, is for things to generally look rather wintry as we get into Sunday and into next week. At least the opportunity for some moisture to come in. It may come as rain, it may come as snow, depending on the timeline of when that takes place. So we'll be tracking that. We'll be continuing to first alert you to what you need to know with each of those systems. As far as today goes, more of an inconvenience than anything else. You get a quick round of some showers that make their way through, and if you're closer to Denison, you bring in some flakes alongside that. Enjoy the next couple days after this. It's going to really warm up. It's going to be pretty pleasant before we get things a little busier by Sunday. That'll wrap it up for this live stream. Appreciate you joining in for this. Coming up at the top of the hour, tune in to First Alert 6. Senior Chief Meteorologist Rusty Lord will have your latest on how things are looking for today and beyond. And, of course, we'll continue to update you through the day. You can always use the First Alert 6 weather app as well to get those details, and the video forecasts that are on there will update you on different aspects of the forecast. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Hope you have a great one.